Roman forts were instrumental for the Roman Empire's military strategy. They were built to withstand enemy raids and provided a safe place to house soldiers, as well as to store essential supplies such as food, weapons, and administrative records. This video will look at where these camps were built and what strategy the Romans used to build them so fast. Known as castrum, Roman forts served multiple purposes throughout the Roman Empire. They were built in strategic spots, mainly along the empire's borders, such as the Danube and Rhine rivers, to ward off enemy raids. Some forts were also built during prolonged sieges, while others were founded in provinces to maintain control over conquered peoples and forestall rebellions. Forts varied in size, from small temporary camps to large fortifications able to accommodate up to 2 legions. To handle long-term needs, many of these forts were sited near cities or settlements, which developed around the forts. These trade centers made it possible for merchants to supply Roman soldiers with equipment and goods, buying loot and other products in return. Over time, some of these settlements developed into cities during the Middle Ages, underlining the lasting influence of the Roman military footprint on the development of surrounding areas. While ranging in detail, Roman forts shared common features. They were generally rectangular, with rounded corners, and had wooden walls, later reinforced with stone on a foundation of earth. Surrounding the perimeter was a ditch, and the earth taken from it was used to form a wall. The forts had 4 main gates and strategically positioned towers. From the 3rd century AD, the towers were designed outside the walls to enable a better angle of fire, due to the increased use of artillery weapons. There were lanes inside the fort that formed a T-shaped layout, known as the Via Praetoria and Via Principalis. The main building, called the Principia, was placed where the 2 streets met. The fort's left and right side gates were known as the Porta Principalis Sinistra and the Porta Principalis Dextra. The rear gate was known as the Porta Decumana and led straight to the headquarters building or the commander's tent. The front gate was called the Porta Praetoria. The Roman fort gates were well designed, with 2 arched entries, wooden doors that could be shut, and possibly serve as a firewall. They were internally locked and had multi-story towers, plus separate defense moats. Although these were defensive precautions, the forts were not intended to withstand prolonged sieges, but rather to repel makeshift enemy attacks. Whenever they encountered large enemy forces, Roman troops mobilized to confront them in the open, since most of Rome's opponents were unable to conduct successful sieges, except for the Sassanid Empire. Challenges increased during the Byzantine Empire as the threat of marauders spread, leading to changes in fort design. Gates were narrowed, curved protective towers, as well as fan-shaped towers at the corners, and facilities for catapults were all introduced, especially in coastal areas, such as the Saxon coast of Britain, to bolster the defense of these fortifications. When needed, Roman soldiers often built temporary camps. They were quickly constructed, taking only a few hours, and served several purposes, such as resting, preparing for battles, sieges, and winter barracks. 10 men from each centuria were charged with building them, supervised by a military surveyor who chose a suitable site, considering criteria such as easy access, proximity to water sources, and high ground for tactical reasons. Permanent forts, which were walled, contained barracks for legionaries and cavalry, lodging for the commander and his family called a praetorium, and occasionally for tribunes. They also had elevated structures named horios to store food and protect it from humidity. Roman forts possessed several internal facilities, including workshops, hospitals, cisterns, markets, and, in a few cases, Roman baths, but these were often located outside the forts, owing to the risk of fire. There was a wide avenue around these internal structures to protect them from enemy raids. The center of the fort was occupied by the Principia, the headquarters building, comprising a basilica, corridors, a court, and recreation rooms for the staff, offices, and a shrine for the legions or units' banners. There were also armories and an underground vault for storing the fort's cash reserves. These forts were vital in providing logistical support for the Roman legions. Without them, it would have been extremely difficult for the Roman Empire to keep all its borders under control. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.